This week on the Travel Show, we're in Bermuda,
where I'll be diving into hundreds of years of nautical history and finding out how a new project will let you explore these shipwrecks from your smartphone.
That was quite literally breathtaking.
We head to Canada's remote Cape Breton for a unique taste of Scottish culture. And we'll be meeting the couple on a global honeymoon that they hope could last a lifetime. We start this week in Bermuda in the North Atlantic Ocean. This tiny collection of subtropical islands spans just 22 miles, but they're ringed by more than 200 square miles of coral reefs.
These beautiful shallow reefs make this island perfect for snorkeling and scuba diving, but a nightmare for boats. It's really treacherous. And because of that, these waters have more shipwrecks per square mile than any other place on Earth.
It was a shipwreck that brought the first settlers to Bermuda in 1609, when a group of English sailors were caught out by the deceptive reefs surrounding the island.
What was the history of this island, Bermuda?
A group of people on a sea venture were traveling to America, you know, the early days of the United States, and they didn't make it.
So basically, Bermuda was discovered by accident.
By accident, yeah. We're surrounded by reef, so much so that it became known as the Isle of Devils. People thought Bermuda was cursed.
There are over 300 wrecks around Bermuda, and some like this one are still visible above the surface.
Oh, here we go.
This wreck, the HMS Vixen, was deliberately sunk by the British Navy in 1896.
They actually sank the Vixen purposely. They wanted to block this natural deep water channel here. The British wanted to make sure the Royal Naval Dockyard was secure, and they felt this was necessary to keep Bermuda a safe place.
How big is the Vixen?
It's about 220 feet long, I believe.
So that's a big boat.
Yeah, and it's had over 100 years of coral growing on it, so it's more of a reef than a boat right now, for sure.
And there's a surprise bonus to the tour.
Look at those! Whoa! Oh, look at the fish! Loads of them! They're all living in that wreck. It's like a giant aquarium.
The majority of ships here sank with their cargo and treasure intact. Some of the hoard has been retrieved by divers and is now housed here at the Bermuda Underwater Exploration Institute.
Well, what we're going to see here is that some of the artifacts.
It looks pretty nice.
It certainly does. I'd be happy to have it. And Bermudians today apparently still have them in their dining rooms and they use them. They also had a lot of crosses on them, and you'll see a lot of broken crosses, but also it had drugs.
Is that what these things are?
All little ampules carrying anything from a morphine to some opiates. And I have one here if you'd like to see it.
Yeah,
so if you'd like
definitely.
Right.
So I'm holding a piece of history here.
Here you go. It was rolling around in the sand. I remember when I first dove on the wreck, you could see them rolling around in the sand.
Do you know what's so surprising is how something this fragile can be recovered intact?
Exactly. of like a time capsule, a moment in time trapped where it stopped, and you can see the way the people lived, what they carried with them, what was important, and how some things don't change.
Seeing these relics is incredible, but it's just a glimpse of what lies on the ocean bed. And now a team of scientists has begun a project that will document the ships in 3D to reveal more about these wrecks than ever before. This 70-meter vessel, the Montana, sunk in 1863. It was used to run supplies to the Confederates during the American Civil War and is one of the first ships to be digitally recreated using this cutting-edge technology.
That was quite literally breathtaking. I can't believe it. It's so close. You just have to snorkel, and there you are on top of this massive wreck that's been there for over 100 years. It's huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
Immense. And you can see so much detail as well. It's just really hypnotic. You see everything. And
The boilers, those two large sort of giant cans, for want of a better word,
yeah.
And between the two paddle wheels,
yes,
essentially the steam engines what drove those engines. One steam engine for each paddle wheel. Essentially that propelled that ship forward. Those were the fastest ship of their time. These things could do like 14, 15 knots. They were amazing.
By using a technique called photogrammetry, the team has been working with the University of California to record thousands of images and build a 3D digital replica of the vessel. It means they'll be preserved for generations.
I never really have seen this shipwreck from end to end. You see how big it is, how long it is. So in one snorkel, you can't visually take it all in. But the minute it's laid out in that sort of 3D fashion, using photogrammetry, suddenly you can see it from the stern all the way to the bow. And you just take in the full extent of the ship, and it literally brings it back to life.
Diving here is a luxury that's out of reach for many people. So the plan is now to map at least 100 of the shipwrecks, meaning that anyone from anywhere in the world will be able to take a digital dive and experience centuries of maritime history.
It tells us that everything changes, you know, but actually what it tells me more than anything is that the kind of, when you go in deep into the history of these shipwrecks and you get into the human stories, people really aren't very different. You know, you should read the love letters that people write, the sailors on these ships. You know, they write back to their wives, their concerns, the things they're worrying about, their desires and hopes. It's really not that different to today. You know, and I think that's actually really challenging and kind of enlightening.
Well, from the blue waters of Bermuda to the streets of London now. The next time you order a takeaway delivery in the small hours, spare a thought for the people whose job it is to stay up all night and bring it to your door. Here's the next in our series of films about London after dark, where we meet a man whose job it is to do just that.
My name is Andres. I work for Feast. I'm a late night food delivery driver. I make the deliveries to people who want to eat super late. When I cycle at night through all the iconic places, Tower Bridge, St. Paul's, or even Buckingham Palace, and it's very strange because in the daytime, if you go there, it's just plenty of people. You feel like in a huge ant world. And at night, you're just all alone by yourself, and you can just admire, you can stop, no one's gonna push you. It's surreal. Soho is probably the most liveliest place you could find it at night in London. Someone's just hanging in the street, playing music, they find friends, someone came out of the bar, they join in, it becomes like a street party.
Party on!
Yeah, nightlife, it has its own challenges.
What?
You do a long night shift. Just on the last minute and you're just looking at the watch. It's like, okay, it's 2 minutes, 1 minute.
15 minutes to go, and then I'm free.
And then the order comes in.
Oh, come on. Really? Damn it.
Once you finish a shift, sometimes it's already a sunrise. And it's a very nice and beautiful thing to see sunrise in London. And then you see all the people who are waking up, it's all the commuters. And for me, it's end of the night, but I still experience the sunrise and I can still experience the sunset because I do both. Some people don't.
Still to come on the travel show.
We'll be showing you the first ever street view mapping of Uluru in Australia. And we'll be on Canada's Cape Breton Island, finding out why hanging out in the kitchen is where the party's at.
The Travel Show, your essential guide wherever you're heading. Time now for Trending Travel, your monthly mashup of the best travel-related stories, snaps and videos online.
A joint collaboration between Google Maps and the Anangu Aboriginal tribe in Australia has resulted in the first street view mapping of Uluru.
Uluru, it's a very sacred site for the traditional owners. It tells their creation stories through different features in the rock, which are passed down through story and song and dance, and for us to be able to experience it, it's really generous of them.
And it's not only Uluru that's being mapped and documented by the new project. If you click on the audio icons on the site, you'll also be able to hear some of the traditional stories and beliefs of the local Anangu people. Fed up of being stuck in a taxi traffic jam, French company Sea Bubbles have just tested their first flying water taxi on the River Seine in Paris. The idea is that you'll be able to order a sea bubble on an app to help reduce congestion in different cities around the world. The company hopes to have the water taxis in 12 cities by 2018. When a honeymoon becomes a Pan-American overland expedition, that's the tagline to Global Honeymoon, a website put together by newlyweds Dimitri and Sarah O from Belgium. Since tying the knot last year, they've been traveling overland across South America with no planned route and no intention of returning home.
A lot of our friends are getting married or are buying a place. Yeah, and we want that also, but there are other stuff we want to do before that. There's been many highlights in all of the countries, but I think one in particular would be the Rainbow Mountain in Peru.
The couple are now on their way to Central America and will continue blogging about their adventures on Instagram and Facebook. And finally, how would you celebrate your 100th year? Finland has marked the event in style by opening up its 40th national park, called Hossa, after the local Sami word for faraway place. The national park offers up hiking, fishing, kayaking and cycling activities. It's also home to one of Finland's largest rock paintings, estimated to be almost 4,000 years old. The 11,000 hectare park contains over 100 lakes and ponds. This promo video was made by filmmaker Riku Kariolainen, who's glad the land is now a protected area.
Thanks to everyone who sent us their pictures this month using the hashtag Travel Tuesday.
Here are some of my favourites. James Merriman was in Hamburg when he took this photo of the beautiful Rat House building. And Mayuri snapped this street photography image of the Worli Sea Link Bridge in Mumbai. Don't forget to check out our Twitter and Facebook feeds for loads of extra special travel show content. Now let's look at the travel videos clocking up the views online. It's not only Finland celebrating a milestone year in independence. 70 years ago, India became its own nation. We selected a couple of filmmakers' videos illustrating the country.
Varanasi is like, that's a place, it's a holy place for the Hindu religion. Dying in Varanasi is considered as a holy thing. Everybody is scared of death. So I kind of wanted to explain that it's just a natural process, and you live and you die, you're just making way for the other person to come in.
It probably is the most hospitable place I've ever visited in my life, and it really is just a beautiful place.
And if you see anything you think we should know about, don't forget to get in touch. It's at BBC Travel Show. And finally, we're off to Canada for the next in our series celebrating the country's 150th birthday. This week, we're on Cape Breton Island in Nova Scotia, a place rich with Scottish history, dating back to the 18th century when the community first settled here. And as we'll find out, some of their traditions are still alive today.
These tunes are 200, 300, 400 years old, and they've survived. And we play them probably more here today than they do in Scotland, really.
It's the way we work, it's how we live. I grew up listening to music, playing music, dancing to music, and then married into an extremely musical family, so it's just a part of every day.
The Ceilidh is basically a gathering of friends, family, and whatnot, and musicians, guitar, piano, and as well as some step dancing. I like the dancers.
Nova Scotia is a Latin word for New Scotland. So the people that came here brought their culture, their language, their dance, their music, anything that was associated with the Gaelic culture.
Hajian cas hidam iascach. And that means a dry leg won't do the fishing. It means you can't do anything without getting wet. If you're going to do something, you have to get involved in it. This is my farm. I have a few cows in the field. Her name is Bellac. The people who had her before named her Bella, so I just gave it a Gaelic pronunciation. I mostly teach Gaelic for a living. My last name is MacArthur, which is a Gaelic name, but I don't really know too much about the Gaelic culture in my own family. In this community, at least up to the 1950s, everyone spoke Gaelic. In the early 1900s, there was an Education Act. People weren't allowed to teach Gaelic in school or to speak Gaelic in school. It had to be only English. And I think it was kind of traumatic for a lot of people that they were going to school and sometimes being punished for speaking their native language.
It was something like fiddle playing. That died out in the area years ago. And there was a fiddle in every household. And no doubt someone in every household that could play. And that died away for a number of years, and people realized what was happening and the interest grew in it. Now it's, no matter where you go now on Cape Breton Island, you're going to hear fiddle music.
Probably in the last 15 or 20 years, there has been a revival going on. And and that means young learning is beautiful learning.
I play the fiddle. I like the sound of it. The Gaelic in it. I think it talks Gaelic. Not literally speaking, talking, but musically speaking. It talks Gaelic. I think the tradition has lasted, I think, longer here in Cape Breton because of the ruralness of the area. Like this area didn't have power until the mid-50s.
There were no TVs and there were no, what else was there? No, we didn't even have a phone when we grew up. I mean, when we were kids. So that's what you did, you visited. You played cards.
People came in and
you sang. We did a lot of singing.
The older people told stories and
told
told ghost stories. Not so much
few
here,
dirty
but in
jokes.
certain places.
That piano was always here as I was a kid, when I was a kid, and I just picked it up on my own. And my brothers, two brothers played fiddles, and we always played together and just continued over the years.
Lots of rain.
A little dancing board.
That's for dancing on.
Carpet is not good.
Carpet is terrible.
Carpet is no good for dancing on.
My mom was a step dancer, and my aunt is a step dancer, so they kind of just taught me, but now I'm in a real dance school, and I learned step dance there too.
It's actually like emotional. She's 11 and a half. She comes from a long line of Gaelic tradition, music tradition, so it's very important that she keeps that. If she doesn't hold on to it, who's going to hold on to it?
That's it for this week. Just enough time to tell you about next week's programme when
Carmen sets sail off the coast of Hong Kong to try and spot its famous pink dolphins, which were a symbol of the handover in 1997. But now, 20 years on, their future is under threat.
Oh, I don't know if I got it. Wow, they're so close to the boat. They're so high. Oh, wow.
That's next week, but remember you can keep up with us in real time out here on the road by signing up to our social media feed. All the details should be on your screens now. But for now, from me, Adia Deputan, and all the Travel Show team here in Bermuda is bye-bye.